Oakland Elementary, referred to by many as the jewel of the south end of Royal Oak, Michigan, now celebrating its 100th anniversary. Oakland has seen a lot. From 20 presidential elections to a global pandemic, the brick and mortar holds many memories. Let's start where any good story should start, at the beginning of Oakland Elementary, or as it was known when it was built, Oakland School.
So Oakland School, I know, was part of a farm back in the 20s. So it was part of Royal Oak Township at the time and part of the Madison School District. So in 1923, the property was purchased from the farmer by Madison Schools to build an elementary school on the site. A very small building to start with. It was just a 4-classroom building, so it was 2 floors. It had bathrooms on both floors. It had 4 classrooms, a library, an office area, no kind of gym, no auditorium. Very small school. I think there was only maybe a little over 100 kids in the school at the time. Frederick Madison was the architect of the building. He designed a lot of buildings around Royal Oak. His office was in Royal Oak. He designed, among other buildings, he designed the post office. He designed the building that's currently the middle school, which was the original high school. He also designed the First United Methodist Church. He designed the Washington Square building and the Royal Oak Theater, which is part of that. So he was kind of, I think, probably the most prominent Royal Oak architect in the 20s. In the 20s, schools were designed a very eclectic kind of style. Some were Gothic, some were kind of Romanesque, and this one was kind of based on kind of medieval architecture. So it has a lot of what's called crenellation at the top of it, which looks like a place to shoot arrows through, which is kind of castle-like. So it has a very kind of a castle feel to it. It's got towers on the corners that feel like a castle, and it's also got some really nice stonework at the entrance. It had been part of Madison School since it was built in 24, but in 1942, voters in Madison voted to sell this to Royal Oak School District. So this became then part of the Royal Oak School District instead of Madison Schools.
Now that you have the history on the building, let's talk about Oakland's real history. What better way to do that but through the people who have walked through the doors countless times? From students to staff to parents, these are the stories that truly show Oakland's rich history.
Well, Oakland is sort of a small but mighty school here in Royal Oak. It's one of the smaller ones in the district, and I think it's very family focused. A lot of the families here are parents that went to Oakland. They bring their kids back here. It's pretty tight knit. Everyone knows each other. The families keep coming back. So I love that family focus here. It's really kind of a cool thing that I love about Oakland, and that I think keeps families coming back here. I love it here. I've really enjoyed it. Actually, I have 3 teenagers, and they come and visit my classroom and see my kids just because they hear so much about my students, and my students become kind of part of my family as well. So my kids and my family at home hear so much about Oakland that they love coming in, reading to my class, playing with my class. It just makes my heart really happy. So I love this place. This is an amazing, really special community, and it's really neat to see the way that all of the families, all the staff here are so invested in building this really cool little space together. So Oakland's really something special.
So Oakland was my very first teaching job. So one thing I can always say about Oakland is it was a family. So not just the community itself, but the teaching staff. Coming in as a brand new teacher, there was a lot of teachers to just have that mentorship. They were always taking me under their wing, and there was a lot of expertise in this building. And so that's what I would say, family.
Yeah, I would agree. It was very dynamic. Back in those days, we had a lot of family support. There was a grandparents program here, a lot of volunteers coming in. Staff worked very well together. Chris and I came in around the same time, and we taught together for many years, and we team taught and we switched. Once Lisa came on, she came in and we would just, rotate the students, and so we got to know all the family, and it was just a really good time, great experience.
I think this was also the first building that I ever taught in. And both Jack and I are products of Royal Oak schools, so like it was just really amazing to be able to teach in the same district that you went to school in. So I think there's a special place in my heart for here because it was the first place that I taught at. But great parent community, the kids were great, there's just a lot of great memories.
And going on what you said, we were both products of Royal Oak, and when I first got a job teaching here, Oakland, I'm like, Oakland, I've never heard of that school before. Come down, it was like a hidden gem.
That's
but
what we always read. It was like, oh my God.
at the time when we started, I think there were 18 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 2 high schools. So, and it was very much just a walking, neighborhood, and kids would walk to school every day, walk home every day. People would watch out for each other.
Absolutely.
It's great.
And as the district was downsizing, that was when I happened to be hired in. That was the year, and our community just came out to support Oakland Elementary as the most southern school in the district, that it was slated to close, and it ended up staying open.
Right, we had a really
because of
strong
that.
parent group that really fought that because we were slated to close along with Franklin, and that would have eliminated both schools on the south end, and they were like, nope. I think too, like just making me the teacher that I was for all the years that I taught, you had different things that you might have had to deal with, whether it's behaviors or different things, and just made me a really strong teacher that, it carried through my whole career, I feel like. It's amazing, it looks great. It's just so different, like to even recognize where my classroom was downstairs. Now it looks beautiful. You still feel like that, pulling into the parking lot, it was like, oh my gosh, this is where I parked.
The stairwell still has the same smell.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as it changes, there's certain things that have stayed the same.
Yeah, and I
like you're home.
taught in this classroom for many years, and it's like you said, it's like coming home. It's being here. Chris and I were here for the 75th anniversary. We were teaching here, and we, thought it was great then, and now coming in and seeing the additions and improvements and stuff,
it's still a hidden
amazing.
gem.
Yeah.
It's still the hidden gem.
Well, it was very welcoming. I was hired to teach an extra first grade because the numbers were high. I was a younger teacher. I had taught in a private school prior to that. And so it was just the foundation of my, teaching career. Well, I made a lot of friends, a lot of lifetime friends that I still see today and we still keep in touch with. And so, I'm grateful because I think teachers tend to be supportive, and you have to have that, I think, in any career, but especially teaching. Well, this is big, 100 years, and I was here 40 years ago. I would say you have a lot to celebrate, the teachers, the parents, all the staff, custodians, everyone, the kids who have gone through here. I just really feel that Royal Oak, a lot of people, you get really good roots here from your parents, from your grandparents, and I hope that if they stay in Royal Oak or come back to visit, that they'll always give back to their community and just celebrate the roots that they have here.
I had a really good experience here. I have a lot of memories, like I have a memory of my mom picking me up the first day of school and bringing me my favorite doll. I lived in the neighborhood. I lived about 3 blocks away, so I had friends in the neighborhood, and we would walk to school together. My mom was involved a lot in the PTA, so we got to do a lot of different things here. My favorite teacher I remember was my 6th grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Braitman. She kind of influenced me to go into education, which I am in today. I work in Rochester Community Schools, working with children with disabilities, adults with disabilities. I remember her I was a very shy kid, so I remember her just bringing the confidence out in me. We would have a notebook that we could write to her, and she would write back to us if we wanted it to be something personal, and she would write back to us. I just remember that a lot. I think she helped me to want to go into education, and it was just it felt like a welcoming community here. You always felt like part of a family, part of something bigger, even though you were your own individual.
It was interesting to learn uh, associate with fellow students. A lot of them were my friends in the residential area here, and getting to know a lot of the great teachers that were here.
Prior to volunteering in the preschool, I did volunteer in the school. I helped in the media, so-called media center at the time, but just filing library books, and I volunteered in classrooms for a while. But the two ladies who were doing the preschool, volunteering in the preschool, decided they had had their time. So I stepped in for 2 years with Sandy Yerke. So there was the two of us. Paul was one of my students at the time.
Yeah, it was cool. As a student here, it was definitely a community. Like, you knew where everyone lived. Everyone always made plans. You played together, but you also learned together. You made your friendships. This is where you had your first best friend, your first heartbreak. You had great teachers that were always engaged. Oakland was a great place to learn, and I learned a ton. I like to think it was the foundation of me, like what built me. But it was more than just an educational foundation. It was a social foundation. I'm here now celebrating 100 years. I've been out of the school for almost 30 years. I don't unfortunately live in the community anymore, but I still came back and made it a point because of what Oakland gave to me. And I want to give back. And I want to give to the next generation and the next whatever it is. So because of what Oakland instilled in me, I'm able to be successful.
So I started in the preschool program at 3, and I just remember always being kind of an anxious kid, and my experience was always just feeling loved and cared for and valued by the teachers. There was a lot of people in the community who lived in the community and also worked here. So we had like parents who would volunteer, and I just always remember being just surrounded by that comfort of familiarity, and yeah, that's kind of what I remember mostly about my experiences. Almost every teacher that I had and a lot of staff members that I came into contact with had a huge impact on my life, and are still people who I keep in contact with today, which I think is really special. It kind of speaks to the culture of the school. My 4th grade teacher was Mrs. Ryan, and I think she was the one who really encouraged me to be a teacher. I just always felt like she was kind of like a second mom. I always felt safe, and you know, we had, like at the time, we had just lost my grandfather, and I just remember it not being difficult to come to school because there was so much support, and I always wanted to be that for other kids. So I will always remember that. And then my, and Mrs. Ryan is someone who I still keep in contact with. I went back and volunteered in her classrooms and kept in touch with her. And so, you know, for more than, 30 years, we've been in contact, and she has been just a huge source of support and someone who I see regularly, and I'm just really always inspired by.
Prior to coming to Oakland, I was a 20-year high school guy. I taught and had a variety of roles, including assistant principal at the high school, both at Don Darrow and at Royal Oak High School, and never in a million years would have thought that I would have ended up at an elementary. The opportunity presented itself, and there were times while I was at the high school, and I loved it, that I really had a little itch that where I wish I would have like met some kids and families earlier, because sometimes you'd have kids in high school that you're never going to give up on them, but you sense that they're in a really tough spot and you're kind of battling against the waves. And I know that the earlier we can do interventions on kids, the more success they're likely to have. So coming to Oakland was a chance to do that. That said, I knew almost nothing about elementary when I got here, but the people that were already here really made it better for me, helped me, taught me a ton, and that allowed me to grow. It allowed me to look at education from an entirely different perspective, and I'm forever thankful for the opportunity, and more than anything for the people that kind of helped me along the way. I mean, there's a few times that I was made a spectacle of for the fun for the kids. I had a time when I was dressed in a pink bunny suit. I got slimed, I got a pie in the face. But I would say more than anything, my favorite times are just kind of the little moments that happened. I loved just connecting with the kids throughout the day. I loved working with teachers and with families to try to solve problems. It made me proud every day to come to work here. Matter of fact, I didn't even call it coming to work. I always talked about coming to school. And we had a good group of people that, whether it was the teachers or the parents or the kids, and especially the teachers and the parents, to me always seemed to be focused on the right things. They cared about making lives better for kids. They created a culture which supported that, and it was really a good place to be, and I'm thankful for my time here.
Some of my most cherished memories happened during recess. I mean, it's when all of my classmates and stuff, we all get together, we get to go out, play different things. Our main activities were football and soccer, especially soccer. That was the main one you'd play pretty much first grade all the way up through 5th grade. Same people, same game every day. It's a total blast here. There's tons of things to do. One of my earliest memories is from kindergarten with Miss Fitzpatrick. We would raise monarch butterflies, actually, from getting them little caterpillars, seeing them grow, and then go into their cocoon, finally come out, and we'd release them out in front of the school. So I already touched on one of them, Miss Fitzpatrick. She's almost one of the main people you're always probably going to hear through all of these interviews. She's famous for the raising the monarch butterflies all the way through. So that was always one of the big influences. That's where you're going to start. It's where you kind of pick up in Oakland. Another one was my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Dombrowski. He kind of built me towards being a leader. He always pushed me to being a leader in any of the activities, whether it was just learning in the classroom or activities outside of the classroom. And even after I graduated, he pushed me to do things like student council later on.
Oh, it was great, honestly. My family had been in Royal Oak schools for some time before I got here, so I kind of knew of a lot of the teachers at the time there, but every year it was fun. You know, I had a solid group of friends and everything. Teachers were great, faculty was great. It was overall a really great experience. As far as teachers, Mrs. Farber was a big one. She had my older brother, didn't have my sister though, so it was like the 2 bookends she got, and she just, I mean, she probably really helped shape me into the woman I am today, just with all the things I learned from her class, just everything from 1st grade having her, like, she was an awesome teacher. She really, really cared about the students. And you could see it, even back as a kid, you could tell like she cared. Probably the reason I am the way I am today is because of Oakland. All of the teachers were super, super kind, really just wanting you to do your best. You know, anytime there were issues, they would be willing to sit down with you, talk with you, figure out why you're struggling, what can we do together to get you where you want to be. And so a lot of that kind of helped, you know, like lay the foundation of who I was as a student, which being in academics has always been huge for me. And so a lot of that I think came from just the care and attention that the teachers gave back then to me. I mean, they're a big reason why I was able to go into engineering as a field like I did today. So definitely a huge factor.
Well, first, it's such a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-career opportunity to have one of your schools turn 100 years old. It's bigger than just the school district. It involves everyone in the area. So many of our families attended this school, now have children and grandchildren there. So it is a very special time for us, and we're just very happy to be a part of this celebration. So in 1924, I'm sure schools looked very, very different than they do today. We know many of them were one-room schoolhouses, very limited offerings in math and reading. They did some geography and some sciences, but mainly just the basics, and that's so different from what we offer our students today. We also know that schools were reflective of the society at the time. Most teachers were female teachers. Now we have male and female teachers with our students leading our schools. So we believe schools look very different than they did 100 years ago. But what hasn't changed is that schools are the central part of the community. They were then in 1924, and they still are today here in Royal Oak and with Royal Oak Schools.
The impact, I think, has been through people. I'm still very close with many of the people that I met, either on staff or in the community while I was the principal there. So relationships, that's been an impact. It gave me the desire to want to know more, so I pursued advanced degrees as a result. It taught me how important it was for community and staff, meaning the parents of our community, to work together, because it's only when we are communicating and working together that we provide the best possible educational experience for the students in that school setting. So it was a joyful time and beneficial. I think the message that I would give to them really is the most important thing is the relationship that you build with your students, no matter what year it is or when it is or how old they are. If you don't have a good relationship and you aren't really tuned in to who you are as well as who they are, then you're not going to have the necessary interactions that result in a good education. And so I guess I would say, keep your eye on the future, know what they're going to need, do your best to provide the opportunities for them to practice the skills they're going to need to meet their future, and do it through a work environment that has a very positive setting with lots of good relationships.
Oakland was wonderful. Oakland was a huge decision and part of my family's moving to this neighborhood. My parents still live a couple blocks down that way. We walked here every day. And I have nothing but positive memories of Oakland. A little biased, but I did enjoy my music classes. Something specifically that I remember doing, I believe it was Mrs. Burr that did this, was we would do musicals. And it was something that not a lot of elementary schools did. I remember doing the musical Oliver and then the musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown as like a 4th and 5th grade production, which was pretty cool.
I really enjoyed my time at Oakland. It was a nice introduction into the Royal Oak School District. I appreciated Dr. Estelle Bloom took a chance on me and hired me pretty much out of college, and the staff was fantastic. It was really like working with a family, and that's what I really enjoyed about Oakland. They offered a program with grandparents, so weekly or it was monthly actually, that we would take our kids there and into the media center, and they would get to play games with grandparents, and I really liked that program. So when I came here to Upton, eventually we worked on a program with Walden Woods and had events where the seniors came here to 2 different projects with the kids and read stories to the kids, and so I just really wanted that connection to continue where our students had exposure to senior citizens. The teachers were so dedicated, and the families really supported everything the teachers were doing. And the beauty of Oakland is the connections that I still even have. I'm still very close with a lot of the parents whose kids I taught, and obviously those kids are even much older, and that I've started to build some connections with them as well. Even had one whose child came here at one point, so a student I taught from Oakland. So it was a wonderful community, and I was very blessed to work there, and through the work I did within the community too. I coached baseball for Royal Oak in the Royal Oak Sandlot League, and so I was able to actually not only teach some of my kids but coach them in baseball, so they got to see me in different ways too. So it was just such a nice, tight community, which it was like the perfect place to start my career.
The main thing that I want to emphasize is that it was a really warm and welcoming community. It was all about the people. We had the best parents and the best students, and of course the staff was pretty good too. But the families were down to earth. They were warm, and they were always there to try to help out, whether it was to volunteer in the classroom or to go on field trips. And every morning when I would go outside to pick up the students, almost all the parents would be there before, and it was really nice to get to know so many of them. It's had such a big impact on me. First, I've made a lot of lifelong friends from the adults, the staff members, who some of my very good friends to this day I met here over the 23 years. And I also had contact with so many amazing parents and students who I still keep in touch with. I'd say that nothing compares to the students in this community and the parents. And over the years, as I had my own kids and they went to school, I noticed that I always was comparing them to the Oakland community. And you can't even compare to how great people are here. You have no idea how great it is that you are at a school that's been here for 100 years and it's in good condition. And I know you still have lots of great people here like they did when I was teaching. So feel very fortunate that you're part of this community.
One unique thing that I think exists about our culture is that everybody really just kind of is connected and they care about each other, and they have a sincere concern for how people's day is going and how people's weekend went. I just think the culture is just a really caring, atmosphere that, where people truly are concerned and care about each other. I think that, when you work at Oakland, it's always just more than working at Oakland. It's, being part of, a group that you're connected to in ways that's not just, I come in and I do my job and then I go home. This celebration, I think, is not just about time, 100 years. Wow, 100 years has passed. It's about the thousands of kids and families that have, been connected to this place and, made it better, and Oakland made their lives better. And it's just, it's more about celebrating the people and, the way we've grown and we've become this, wonderful little culture here in the south end of Royal Oak.
I love going to Oakland Elementary because all the new people that come here and all the teachers.
I like going to Oakland Elementary because when you're with the teachers, you're safe and they provide good education. I love going to Oakland Elementary because I get to do service squad, I can help people out, and there's a lot of amazing teachers.
I love going to Oakland Elementary because it is a very safe environment and it is fun to learn at the school.
I love going to Oakland Elementary because the staff is great. I have a lot of fun here and a lot of my friends go here, so I can have an enjoyable time.
I think it's pretty cool that the school has been around for 100 years.
It's a little cool, but it's also a little scary because it's been around for a while. And
I think it's really cool that they're turning 100, and I'm excited to just be here when it turns 100.
I'm surprised that the school's been around for 100 years. My grandma used to go to this school actually, so that's pretty cool.
I think that just shows that Oakland is it's like a really strong school. I think it's really cool that it's turning 100 because it just really shows that nobody is going to give up on the school.
She is right. No one will give up on this school as long as Oakland keeps being the wonderful place that it is today. This video is dedicated to the lasting legacy of Oakland's past, present, and future.